Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next-level tactics. From off-site and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition.
Welcome back to another episode of the SEO.co podcast. We're continuing the series on link building for SEO. We're rolling right into Chapter 7, Building Links Manually. Now that we've covered how to naturally attract inbound links, it's time to take a look at the more manual, controllable, albeit more risky side of link building. The concept here is pretty basic too, but the execution is a little trickier since it demands more precision control and more variables. With each link you build, you'll develop a new piece of high-quality content tailor-made for the audience of a specific publisher, and you'll guest post that content on their site. The content will contain one or more links pointing back to your domain. Over time, you'll target a wider diversity of different publishers, eventually inching your way up to bigger, more reputable sources. So here are the advantages of building links manually. There are some readily visible advantages to building the links manually. First, refined direction and control. You'll have much more precision and control with manual link building. Rather than publishing a piece and hoping for the best, you can target publishers you know will link back to you and seek sources closely in tune with your target audience. Secondly, reliable scaling. Link attraction is nice, but it's almost impossible to scale. Most of the sources from which you'll acquire links using the link earning method are low to medium authorities. One link from a high authority website is worth dozens from lower authorities, so long-term play is important here. And secondary benefits. There's a host of secondary benefits to manual link building, including personal branding, visibility, reputation, and relationship building. Now, let's talk about the disadvantages of building links manually. First, increased risk of penalty. If you aren't careful, you could wind up publishing links on bad sources or in bad ways that end up getting you penalized. Though if you follow best practices, this shouldn't be an issue. Secondly, ongoing investment. Manual link building demands a heavy investment of time and other resources on an ongoing basis to build and manage all your publisher relationships. It's truly a game of persistence and relationship building. Next, let's talk about the characteristics of perfect backlinks, even if they are manually built. Okay, so you have a basic concept. Your guest post is going to serve as kind of a housing for your inbound link, but don't let that description fool you. Your content still needs to be top-notch. Let's explore some of the factors that will make a perfect link, one that most publishers will accept, one that Google will never penalize, and one that will earn you the highest amount of authority and referral traffic. Let's talk about link spam. First on the list is your choice of a high authority source. If you're looking for a direct measure here, you can shoot for domain authority. The higher the domain authority of your link source, the more authoritative value your link will pass, and the more referral traffic you'll probably get as well. The problem is you can't post links on any high authority site that easily. If you could, they'd lose their authority. Instead, you need to work on some lower authority sources first, gradually working your way up. More on this later. Next up, natural placement. Next, you'll need to make sure that your link doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It needs to be placed naturally in the body of your content. There's no need to be sneaky here, but it shouldn't appear out of place. For example, if you're writing a longer piece, 1,000 words or more, you'll want to include at least several links to outside sources, only one of which is your domain. These should be spread throughout the piece rather than lumped together and should appear naturally in your work while adding value. This means it should support a fact or claim made within your content or provide an example that illustrates a point. If a publisher suspects you of trying to sneak your own link into the body of content, or if it doesn't add value for readers, they're either going to reject your submission or remove the link. Next up, let's talk about high-quality content. Remember all of those elements I listed for how to make your piece valuable as a linkable asset? All those are going to apply here. Beyond that, your content needs to be high quality in two different ways. The first of these is the conventional, intuitive way. Your content should be well-researched, logically organized, with some compelling points, multimedia integrations, and of course, eloquent writing that's accessible enough for almost anyone to enjoy. The second requirement of high quality is a bit more subtle and variable. Your content has to be valuable specifically for the readers of your chosen publisher. Though it may be tempting to try and write what you know or write what your main audience might want, you'll need to compromise and keep your publisher's audience in mind as the priority. Now let's talk about contextual relevance and value. Context is everything when considering the value of a link, and context can apply to a few different things. First, your article has to be contextually relevant to the site it's published on. That's a given and something that I've mentioned before. Fortunately, you'll have a bit of help here. If your article isn't contextually relevant to a publisher's audience, the publisher will flat out reject it, saving you the trouble. Second, your link has to add some kind of value to your piece. You can't just shoehorn it into an unrelated or out-of-place section, and you can't just call out your brand name at the end. Instead, you need to find a natural, value-adding way to get your link into the body of the content. For example, you could cite a statistic or quote your on-site work that validates the main point of your article. Next up, optimized anchor text. I've explained before one of the old-school black hat practices of over-optimizing the anchor text of your links. In the old days, optimized anchor text, and I'm using that in quotes here, refers to text that contained one or more target keyword phrases in order to increase the relevance of the target page to those phrases. These days, optimized anchor text is more about explaining or justifying your use of the link. You'll need some contextual clues here too, and you might even call them keywords, but be sure that your anchor text fits naturally into your writing. For example, you might call to the link in question with something like, according to our recently published data on blank, X% of all marketers take this action. Or, for more information, check out my post on blah, blah, blah. Next up, broader context. Your link should also fit neatly into the broader context of your campaign. For example, a link in a guest post may fit all the requirements listed before. But if you're posting to the same site for the 100th time and you don't acquire links from anywhere else, you're going to see greatly diminished returns from every new link posted there. Remember, one of your key principles for success is diversification. So in addition to adhering to all the best practices we've talked about already, your links should be distinct from one another in both form and source. If you haven't already, design an amazing-looking website too and take care of all your on-site optimization. This is going to serve as many publishers' first impressions of your brand. After that, create a blog and fill it up with as many high-quality posts as you can. Backdate your posts so it looks like you've been at this for a long time. And do shoot for an impressive volume, at least 30 posts, but never sacrifice quality for quantity here. Your first round of publishers will have nothing to go on except these posts to determine your level of expertise, so get ready to impress them. Once your blog is established, start syndicating your posts on social media and build your audience. There are a number of ways to do this, and the topic itself warrants a separate guide, but here are some of the basics. First, post content regularly. Second, respond to your followers. 3, engage new followers in conversations. 4, participate in community discussions. And 5, engage regularly with influencers. Your goal should be to develop an impressive blog with a decent recurring leadership and an active social media campaign to match. Once that's established, you can start shopping around for publishers. That's all we have for this episode. Join us next time as we continue the link building guide for SEO as we roll into Chapter 8, How to Find Backlink Opportunities. Thanks again for listening to the SEO.co podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.